Today we're going to work with circles. You guys might remember Kirby from Super Mario Brothers back in the day. So we're just going to recreate Kirby with just using circles. So let's go. Hit E for your shortcut for your ellipse tool. If you hold Control and Shift and drag your mouse, you're going to make a perfect circle. And then let's go ahead and hit D for dropper and select a color. I have my colors over here, my color palettes. So we'll just pick that pink color. F1 to go back to the selector tool. Hit E again for ellipse. This time don't hold down Control and Shift. We're just going to drag some oval shapes. F1. Control D to duplicate that and hold Control Shift and resize that circle a little bit. We're going to change that color to black. We'll change the bottom color to black and we'll change the top color to a dark blue. Let's resize that, or let's Control D to duplicate that again. Hold Control Shift and resize that a little bit smaller. Change that to black as well. Okay, we're going to reshape this just a little bit. And we're going to hit Control Shift C. That's going to change this path, this object to a path. Or you can just come up to Path and select Object to Path. Select your Nodes tool. And we just want to drag these nodes out a little bit to cover up the blue borders. Okay, we don't want the blue border showing. And you can zoom in a little bit if you need to change it. You can also drag these nodes out, and that's going to help. We'll leave a little bit of blue showing at the top. All right, hit F1, and let's go to our fill and stroke. If you don't have it open in the menu over here, go to Object, select Fill and Stroke, and it will open it up in the menu bar for you, okay? Now let's blur this just a little bit. All right. Select our blue oval, Control D, and let's shrink that down again. We can look at the one we have just to make sure we're kind of on the right path. And we want to widen that a little bit for the eye. Control D, duplicate again, and shrink that down. And we're going to change that to white. There we go. All right, so we basically have the eye made. So we're going to drag our selector tool over the whole thing. Control D to duplicate. And we're going to drag it into position, okay? And selector tool over everything and drag it into position here. All right. So now we have Kirby's body and eyes. Okay? Let's go ahead and make Kirby's mouth. Hit E for your ellipse tool and drag and make a circle. Control Shift C, that's going to turn your object to a path, or you can go to Path and select Object to Path as well. Grab your Nodes tool, and we want to kind of make a little soft triangle shape. All right, we're going to drag it onto the face. And let's resize it down just a little bit. And we're going to change the color to, here's the red. All right. Control D to duplicate that again. Let's shrink it down. And let's change that to red. Zoom in. Now we're going to pull this down right to the edge. We're going to hit Control-Shift-C to change our object to a path. Grab your nodes tool and let's just drag this tongue to the edge of the mouth. Zoom out. All right, what we're gonna do next is resize the eyes. I feel like they're a little too big. So I'm just gonna drag my selector tool over everything. Hold down Shift and Control and just make it a little bit smaller. I'm gonna delete this one because I want this to be exactly the same size. So Control D, I'm gonna hold Control and drag so that it stays level and place the eye there. Okay, I like that size better. I feel like the other ones were a little too big. All right, so let's grab E for our ellipse tool and let's draw a circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. Hit D for dropper and grab the pink color that we need. F1, Control-Shift-C to change our object to a path. Grab your nodes tool. And we're just going to reshape this just a little bit. Not much. Make it a little skinnier. Hit F1. Select our object again. And now we're going to rotate it just a little bit at an angle. And we're going to drag it over here. I'm going to put it about eye level and drop it to the bottom with lower selection to the bottom. And then we're going to hit Control D and then H. So that's going to rotate it and we're going to pull it up here. And we're going to rotate this arm up here. And it's going to be right there. And let's lower that selection to the bottom as well. All right, Control D again. Let's pull this down. And we're going to resize this, hit Control and Shift, and drag this just a little bit bigger. And now we're making his shoes. Drop it to the bottom. Control D and H is going to mirror it. We're going to hit Control and we're going to drag at the same time. And his foot is going to be on the other side. Let's drop it to the bottom. So let's go ahead and color his shoes. Select one shoe, hold Shift, and select the other shoe. I'm going to select the color that I already had used. You can select any of the red colors that you like, or you can choose the same color as his tongue so that you have more than one red color. All right, hit F1. Now let's go ahead and add some color to the face. So what we're going to do, let's select our body circle and hit Control D. Let's change that to white and hold Control, Control Shift, and resize that circle. Now under your Fill and Stroke tab, go to Radial Gradient and select it. What we want is for the center to be white and for the outside to be that pink color that we have. So if yours is translucent, then we want to bring that all the way up to 100 and we want to change that color. So you're going to go to your dropper tool here, select this outside color, and then select the color of Kirby. Select your dropper tool again. And you can drag this to resize your circle however you want the color to be. Now we just want it to be right in the center. I'm going to hit F1 and I'm going to drag my circle to be just a little bit bigger. I might make it a little opaque. That looks good. Now we want to drop it down below the eyes. Actually, what is easier is to drop it all the way to the bottom and then bring it up one. Or up a few. Okay, so now we have a little bit of light here. And select your eyeball, the black part of the eye, Control D, hold it, hit it again, and rotate it to the side. And let's shrink that down a little bit and put it right there on Kirby's cheek. Now that's going to be a little bit of a darker pink than Kirby is. So I'm going to hit D for dropper and I'm going to select this color here. And what we want to do is just kind of blend it with Kirby's body. So we want our blur, we want to make it a little opaque, and we want our blur to be pretty good. So there we go. And we're going to hold Control D, duplicate it, hold Control, and hit H. Hold Control and move it over to the other side. So now we have Kirby's cheeks. And a little highlight on Kirby's face. Select Kirby's body again, hold Control D, and we're going to make this a little bit darker. We want to keep the same shade family, but just go darker. That's pretty good. And we'll make this just a little bit bigger. Let's drop that all the way to the bottom and bring it up above the hands. All right, this is going to give us just a little outline around Kirby, but we want it to blur just a little. Okay, there we go. That looks good. My blur is at about 15%. That's pretty good. Okay, I feel like this is a little too light, so I'm just going to make it a little more opaque. That's pretty good. That's better. All right. So now this same shade I used here, I'm going to hit Control D and I'm going to bring it up to the hand area. Let's shrink it down a little bit. So we're going to just put some light shading here. So let's go to linear gradient. And one side is going to be pink and the other side is going to be white. So let's get to a white color. Okay, and that actually looks pretty good. So we have a little bit of white there, like the light is hitting it. And we're going to hit Control D, duplicate that, and drag it over here to the other arm. Now we want to rotate this one just a little bit and reposition it. And I may blur this one just a little bit more. Okay. All right, so it's already starting to come to life a little bit. What we want to do now is just put a little shadow underneath the chin here. So let's grab our circle again, Control D, and select our nodes tool. And if we didn't turn this into a path already, go to Path, Object to Path, and let's drag this down. Just drag it all the way down. And let's change the color to like a gray color for now. All right, so this is our shadow. What we want to use is a dark pink So let's hit F1, D for dropper, and then we're going to select our cheek shade. And what we're going to do is darken it up a little bit, okay? Now we're going to lower the opacity and increase the blur. And there's our shadow on the bottom. See, if we decrease the blur just a little bit and lower the opacity some more, then we've got that. Hit F1. Now we're going to duplicate this and shrink it down. And we're going to change the color of this one to like a lighter color, like a white almost. Because we're looking for a new highlight shade. Let's go to our nodes tool. All right, now let's work on the shoes. So we want to add a little shadow there to the shoes. So let's just raise our shoe all the way to the top so we can see it. Now what we're going to do is grab our Bezier pen and we're just going to make a quick outline, come down about halfway and connect it right there. Let's turn the opacity up so we can see. This is going to be a dark color because it's going to be a shadow. Now we can turn the opacity back down a little bit. And we want to blur. The blur is really going to blend the shadow. Okay, F1. With your shadow selected, select your shoe as well and drop that down to the bottom. And now we can just rotate our shadow a little bit if we want to. And we can bring the opacity back up some and maybe take the blur down a little bit and see where we're at. I'll go back to my tool. I'm just going to spread this out a little bit. And hit F1 again. Control D, H, hold Control and move this out. So we're going to the other side. When you find the position you like, go ahead and drop that all the way to the bottom and then bring it up 1 or 2. There we go. All right, we're almost done. Let's go ahead and grab this highlight color here and Control D, and we're going to bring it down to the shoe. But what we don't want is the pink. So let's just make it white. There we go. It's all white now. And we can rotate that to the side. We're going to bring the opacity down a lot. I think I'm going to widen it just a little bit. F1. I want to bring the opacity down more and blur it more. We just want the hint of a light. And Control D, H, hold Control and move this over. There we go. Now, just for fun, we're going to do one more character. Now, this is just a fun character that you can do with circles. I have my color palette here. Let's go ahead and get started and grab our ellipse tool. Hit E, hold Control Shift, and draw a circle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle because his face is more oval shaped. Hit F1. Let's change the color to orange. So I'm going to hit D for dropper, and I'm going to select orange and turn my opacity all the way back up. F1, E for ellipse, hold Control Shift and draw a circle. Ooh, we just want a circle. Okay, hit F1. Let's see if that's going to be the size we want. Yes, it is. Perfect. Okay, so place our circle over our oval and Control D to duplicate that. Control Shift, resize this one just a little. Let's change the shade to white so we can see it. Control D, Control Shift, and resize that down. Change that color to black. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Control D again. Control Shift and resize. And we'll make that white again. Can zoom in a little bit. Let's make that a little smaller and bring it up to the top. Okay, now let's select all of the circles we made. Hold Shift, select the white one. While you're holding Shift, select the black one and the white one in the middle. Control D, H, and hold Control and move this over. Hit E for ellipse, and let's make a little mouth. So let's go with the oval, hit D for dropper. We'll select this yellow color, but let's change it just a little bit. Go like a lighter orange. That'll work. Hit F1. And let's resize that down a little bit. All right, zoom in, hold Control, and move your mouse wheel up. And Control D. And hold Control and Shift and resize that down. Let's change it to white. Zoom in. Drag that up to the top of the mouth. Control Shift C and select your nodes tool. E for ellipse. Let's make an oval. Control Shift C. F2 for your nodes. You can make eyebrows if we don't want the antenna. Let's move that out of the way. And grab your ellipse tool. Make a small circle. Control Shift C. Hit F2. And let's reshape this. Hit F1, resize that down a little bit. If you want to change the shape of the eyes, we can do that. Select your eye, Control Shift C, select your nodes tool, and just drag that eye down. pull that node handle down, re-angle this one. You can drag that out a little bit. If we want him to be looking up like some of his eye is cut off, what we want to do is select the white part, duplicate that, and then select our eye. And select the white and go to path intersection. And if you want to do the same thing with the white part, we're going to duplicate that again, select the white part, select the background, and go to path intersection. And now you have the eye kind of looking under the eyelid. And if you want to change the other one the exact same way, what I would do is just select all of this, duplicate it, hit H, hold down Control and drag it over here. Selected this whole eye, delete it. Hold Control when you drag it so it's at the same level. And now he's already looking angry. There we go. So simple changes can really make your character look completely different.